Okay, so yesterday we were discussing on the concept of VPC peering and we did hands-on also, right? So from within the same region and within the different region, right? So if you want, you can team up among yourself and you can practice this with between different, I mean your accounts. Like you can peer VPC which are in two different accounts. So that also you can do it, not an issue. Okay, that will also work. And yesterday I shared you one document to go through regarding the transit gateway, right? So what problem the transit gateway will solve, isn't it? So this we are not going to do any hands-on because this is very expensive, right? Isn't it? So this is, and see why, because this service, that is transit gateway, was introduced in order to solve the challenges created by VPC peering. Okay, so just observe here what will happen. For each between two VPC there are one peering connection, right? So and I told you, right? So for example, if there is a peering between this VPC and this VPC, and this VPC and this VPC, there is a peering, right? So you would have easy. So there is no way that you can reach from this VPC to this VPC via this and this. No. So this is called transitive peering. So transitive peering is not allowed in VPC peering. So that is the reason they AWS introduced the transit gateway. So what transit gateway will do is it acts as a centralized hub. Okay. So let me here transit gateway. Yeah, so this will act as a centralized connection where you can attach all the VPC you want. Okay, just simply you can attach this VPC and you can attach this VPC. Okay, or rather, let us delete this and bring here. So think that this is VPC 1 and VPC 2, VPC 3, VPC 4. So you imagine there are 4 VPCs. Now, if you want to have a peering connection, it is always 1-to-1. So 4 VPC means you should have minimum 4 peering connection. That is 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4, then 5, 6. There is a formula also to calculate that. N into n minus 1 divided by 2, where n is the number of VPC. So for example, 4 into 4 minus 1, that is 4 into 4 minus 1 is 3. 4 into 3 is 12. So 12 by 2 is 6. So 6 pairing connection. So how? 1, 2, 3, 4, then 5 and 6. So like this, you need a 6 pairing connection. So handling many pairing connection, it becomes a challenging task. Okay, so that is why we have the concept of transit gateway. But this is not free. It comes with the pricing. Okay, so with transit gateway you can just connect to the in all the VPC to the centralized hub, okay, as a connection, as a association. Okay, so this connection is known as association. Okay, so an association is nothing but a what? Connection. See, isn't it? So you can connect all your VPC centrally like this, and automatically the transit gateway will take care of your routing and propagation. See, that is the attachment. So attachment is nothing but the connection from a Amazon VPC and a VPN to a transit. So this is called a attachment. So once you attach the VPC to the transit gateway, it becomes an association. So association means the route table used to route packets. Okay, so that is the benefit of transit gateway. It by default it itself create the routing table and everything. So we need not worry at all. It is going to manage everything. So that is why it is become popular. See here. So association and propagation. So if you want to send packets from here to here and here to here, it is possible. No need of one-to-one peering. So it will act as a transit gateway. First it will come here and it will reach here. Then first it will come here and then it can reach here. So in this diagram, it is traveling from Llama VPC to which VPC? It is going to the on-premises. So transit gateway, it supports for VPC and the VPN connections also. Okay, I'm just going to show you how to create a transit gateway, but we are not going to do the hands-on in this. It is similar to VPC peering, but the only difference is you don't need to worry about the routing information. It gets added on its own. Only you have to mention the routing information in your subnet level. Okay, so I'll just show you how to you can create it. So let me log in. So and where is it? Password. Okay. So to create the transit gateway, first we need to go to the VPC and you have to come down. So there is a transit gateway. So click on the transit gateway. So as you can see, create a transit gateway. So your name you can give anything you want. Okay. Say for example, test transit gateway. Okay, and leave everything as default and just create a transit gateway. Okay, so once you create a transit gateway, I'm not going to create it because the moment you create it will start getting built. So I don't want to do that. So next you have to go to the attachment. So create a transit gateway attachment. So just name it as the attachment one and you have to select the transit gateway ID. Meaning attachment is nothing but you have to connect the, it is just like you are connecting the VPCs to the transit gateway. That's it. And you have to create the attachment. So once you create the attachment, right, it is going to create its propagation, the route table. So you don't need to manage the transit gateway route table. By default, it is going to create. You just need to manage at the your subnet level. Okay, so you can see here. So transit gateway route tables also it will get populated automatically. Okay, but as we are not going to do the hands-on, so you will not be able to do it. But what I can give you is the transit gateway. In the end, there is a project listed here. So please open this. I'm going to explain this project to you. You can practice this once you are done with this class. Okay. So in an organization, when you join as a AWS admin or a cloud engineer, so they will have a Confluence page, and in the page they will list out the resources names with the details. So as a job of cloud engineer or a DevOps engineer, you need to create this VPCs. Okay, so this is my first assignment or a project I'm giving to you. You have to create these many VPC, 1, 2, 3, 4 VPCs, and these are the public subnets, and for the respective VPC you have to create these many subnets, and in this particular region, and IP also you have to assign this IP only. Then you have to create the internet gateway in this manner, and route table also you have to create in this way. So everything, there will be a naming convention already fixed in the uh, all the organizations. Okay, so you have to do this, and you can do the peering between dev and QA, and QA and shared and CA dev, anything you can practice. Okay, right. So this was about the project and the transit gateway. See, transit gateway is again a very complex topic altogether. So you will not be asked much again, because many still, we are still happy with VPC peering. It is very rare cases that we will have 100 200 VPC. So it's a very rare scenario. Okay, but it is still there. If you want to use that, it is still there. Okay, so
Sir,
now, yeah.
one doubt, sir. Sir, there were rules, right? Like rule number 100, rule 101 in the peering connection.
Yeah,
That's the same rules will also be here for transit gateway or what, sir?
same where it was there in the rule. The rule number was there in the this one, network access control list.
NACL, yes, sorry, NACL.
Yes,
So
same. The
okay,
firewall will remain the same.
okay, sir, okay.
Okay. See, transit gateway, think as a centralized hub. Okay, so rather than having one-to-one connection, think as a this way. See, imagine there are two friends A and B.
Hmm.
Okay, so there is one more. So earlier, if you want to communicate between A and B, so you have to do A to B. Then there is one more friend C, so A to C. Like that you have to do. But now with the transit gateway, what there is a T. So there is a transit gateway T. So what you can do, you can all connect to T, A to T, B to T, and C to T. Okay. So if you send the message to T saying that this message has to reach to C, so T will take care. You're getting it?
Got it.
Okay. So it is like that intermediary person. So rather than sending one to one, you are just telling this message has to reach the C. So that will go through T.
Okay, and we did some inbound and outbound in the NACL, right, sir?
So that will also be there.
Okay, okay, and everything should be open, like what we did for Bastion host. Similarly, everything should be
Yeah. You're talking about this one, right?
yes, hello.
Yeah. If you allow only, then it will reach, right? Then how it will reach the target?
Okay,
See, simple. If you lock the gate, nobody can enter your house. Correct?
yeah,
It's the same way. So, if you allow some people, only the known people will allow inside the gate. Otherwise, you can reject at the gate level itself. It is like that. So, NSCL acts like the gate level in the main gate. So, in the main entrance only, he will not be allowed. Okay? But security groups, it's like a doors of your individual rooms. So there are some people who are allowed inside the gate, but they will not be allowed inside our rooms and all, isn't it? So
yes,
there will be some people, will just talk to them, on the main door, and then we'll send them like that. So we'll not entertain anyone inside our hall room or bedroom like that. So in security group, you can relate to that. But NACL, it's like a main gate. So if you have not allowing a person to enter the gate, so he will not be able to enter the hall, kitchen, anything. So it's like that. So relate in that manner so that you can understand and remember for a long time. Clear?
okay, sir.
Okay, so yeah, so now this module is completed. So I'm going to take up interview question and answers, and I'm going to share with you. So VPC. Yeah, so let me maximize if it is not visible. Yeah. Okay, so the first question will be basics. In the basics of network, CADR calculation is a must. You should know. Okay, so they may ask you, they may give you the CADR and they will ask you to say how many IP address you will get. So you have to quickly calculate. You have to say that, so suppose if this is the example, then you should say 32 minus 25, which is 7, 2 to power 7, you will get the IP address. Okay, so that will be the first question. The next question will be private subnet versus public subnet. So you have to explain. So what is private, what is public? So no subnet is a private or public by default. So public or private is decided by the routing table which it follows. If the routing table has a route to internet gateway, then that subnet which that every subnet which follows that routing table is a public. Else it is a private. So like that you have to explain. Okay. Then how will you give secure network access to instances residing in private subnet? Or they may also reframe the question like this: why do we need a NAT gateway? So I have give you example of a one this thing. So if you want to if you don't want to buy anything directly from a shop, so you can always send your friends or something to get that content or the material from that shop, and you can use that, isn't it? So in that way your identity will be hidden. So same way NAT gateway will solve the problem of network access with the masking the IP address of the server. So you have to explain the NAT gateway in detail. Okay, how it works. So we will create the NAT gateway in the public subnet, and then we will add the routing information in the private routing table, that if we require the internet connection, then please contact the NAT gateway. So NAT gateway will forward your request to the internet. As NAT gateway is created in public subnet and exposed to the internet, so it can reach the internet. Okay, and also the NAT gateway has a public IP, so it is this. Okay, then explain about routing tables and association. So I already told. So routing table is very, very important. But whenever you create a VPC, by default a routing table gets created, and every by default all will be private, because once you create a VPC, that will not have any routing. I mean that VPC's route table will not have a route to internet gateway, because you will not have created internet gateway. So you have to create internet gateway, attach it to the VPC, and make an entry in the routing table. So you have to explain that. And association is nothing but a subnet association. So you have to tell the subnets explicitly to follow which routing table, because by default they are all they'll be following the main route table which gets created by the VPC creation. But you should explicitly tell that no, you have to use the other VPC, okay, based on the requirement. Okay, then what is an elastic IP? Okay, so elastic IP, see this sometimes, this I have not covered to you, because this sometimes asked in VPC also, sometimes asked in EC2 also. Okay, but as a question I am going to answer this, but this will be covered in EC2 section separately. Okay, so elastic IP is a permanent IP which gets attached to the NAT gateway and also to the EC2 instances. Okay, so this is useful when you want the public IP to be permanent, because I was telling you that whenever you restart the router, right, isn't it, even our home router, so the IP gets changed. So even in AWS also same manner, we will launch the EC2 instance with the public IP address, but when you stop the instance and relaunch it again, so the IP will change once you stop the instance. But if you don't want that, so you can make use of the elastic IP. So elastic IP is the permanent IP. Okay, right. Then next they will ask you about security groups and NACL. So you should say security groups acts at the instance or network interface level, and NACL acts at subnet level. So this has no rule number. This has rule number. Okay. For every inbound, you don't need to add outbound, but for this, you need to add a outbound also. Otherwise, it will not work. Okay. So this is stateful and this is stateless. So like that, you have to give 2 to 3 example. I mean differences. Okay. What is VPC peering? So VPC peering is a mechanism where we can interlink or connect two different VPC in the same region or in the two different regions or in the two different accounts. So main scenario, it is useful in two different accounts. Okay, so you can test that. So you can easily. Okay, but only catch here is the two CIDR should be different. You cannot pair the two VPC with the same VPC CIDR. No, it is not possible. It will get confused. Okay, so that is the so use case is like if you have multiple accounts and you want the connection to be very private and super fast and you don't want to use the public IP, then you can peer the two VPC and you can play around with the private IP itself. So that should be your answer. Okay. Next, why there is a need for a transit gateway? So you should say that if you have like more than 100 or 150 or 200 VPC, at that time the transit gateway will be very useful, right? And it solves the problems of complex routing table which is there in the VPC peering. Okay, next, what is VPC and its components? So when you create a VPC, what and all we observed? So there is a DHCP server, there is a NACL, and there will be a subnets routing table and so on. So all these components, then internet gateway, NAT gateway. So these are all the components you should explain. Okay. Next. So what is a bastion host? So this also we did hands on. So bastion host is a server which gets created in a public subnet, or this server will have exposure to the public internet, and we can log into this server via the internet, and from this server we can log into the instances or servers or VMs which are there in the private subnets. So that is the bastion host. So some people also call it as a jump server. Okay. Okay. So why don't we use the default VPC? So this question also sometimes will be asked. So we don't use the default VPC because our client will have their own requirement which we have to fulfill. Okay, otherwise there is no issue with the default VPC. So as we require our own VPC with our own terms, with our own subnetting, so that is the reason we don't use the default VPC. We can, for a testing purpose and all, we can use. Okay, next, private versus public versus EIP. So EIP I already explained. So this is a public IP, but it is permanent. It is not going to change. Even if you remove the server, this IP will be there in your account until and unless you release back to the AWS. Okay, so that is the EIP. But whereas public IP, this is dangling. Dangling in the sense this gets changed once you stop the server. Okay, but this is private, so this will not change. Okay, so this will be there in your VPC CIDR ranges, and you can, even if you delete the instance, you can launch the same instance with the same IP address. So that is the benefit of private IP address. And private IP address is always used for the internal traffic. This is for the, these two are for the external traffic. Okay. Then what are the VPC? See, VPC limitation means I told you that you can create 5 VPC per region. So those are the quota. Okay, so you can check the quota here. So VPC limitation quota, right? So let us check here. See, if you go to the service quota, you will get here this information. Okay, click on AWS services and just check. Click on VPC, you will get. See VPCs per region, 5 VPCs. So security groups, how many credits? All this information you will get. So these are the maximums. You can increase the number, but for that you have to create a ticket with AWS. Okay. Next, what is the function of the VPC router? So router is the main key here. See, for every transaction or every communication, the VPC router is the responsible. But VPC router will check the routing table. Okay. Yes, and these two are optional questions as these are advanced topics. See, site-to-site VPN, it is just like a when you want to connect your on-premises or from Azure and AWS, two different cloud provider together with the, so at that scenario you can use site-to-site VPN. Okay, so you can say you have worked on, okay, but those are all options. Site-to-site VPN and VPC endpoints. So these are very advanced topics. Okay. Next, when it comes to the activity, you should say you have created VPC as per the client requirement and CADA ranges provided by the client. I divide the VPC into subnets, private and public as per the client requirements. Create IGDib, that is Internet Gateway and NAT Gateway for Internet access on public and private subnets. IP filtering on NSCL based on client whitelists IP. Bastion host configuration for the secured access to AWS subnets or instances. Then I also configure routing tables, make up subnet private or public. Then I also worked on VPC peering for private connection between VPCs. Example, our dev VPC might need access to UAT, which both the VPC are in two different accounts. Or you can also say I can also configure transit gateway if there are more number of VPC, like example 100. So these are the expected questions. Okay, and these I have listed based out of my experience. Okay, so I'm going to share this with you. Just try to answer the questions possible. Okay, so I'm going to share with you. Okay, any doubt, guys?
Hi sir.
Hi.
ಸರ್ ಇದು VPC ನಾವು ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ಅದು VPC ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಇಷ್ಟು ಟೈಮ್ ಲಿಮಿಟ್ ಅಂತ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್? ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಆಟೋಮೆಟಿಕ್ ಡಿಲೀಟ್ ಆಗೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಥವಾ ಏನಾದ್ರು? ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಾಂದ್ರೆ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಆಗಿ VPC. ಸೊ ಇವತ್ತು ನಾನು ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ ಸರ್, ಅದು ಸಬ್ನೆಟ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಅದು VPC IP ಅಡ್ರೆಸ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೆ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅದು VPC ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳಿದೆ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ.
Maybe you have given entire to the one subnet.
No, I taken only one subnet sir, actually one tech subnet address taken. So at that time I got that error actually.
Can you share your screen?
No, I'm using phone sir.
See, that error you will get when you have created only one subnet using entire CADR of the VPC.
Okay.
So at that time you will get it. Okay, so that's what. Okay. While dividing the subnet, you have to use the correct CADR value. Only then you will get the proper.
Okay. Okay sir. Okay. And one more thing sir. IP address ನಾವು ಇದು 10.200.0.0 ತಗೊಂಡಿದೀವಲ್ಲ, ಸೊ ಇದು ಇನಿಷಿಯಲ್ IP address ಅಥವಾ ನಾವು ರ್ಯಾಂಡಮ್ ಆಗಿ ಯಾವ IP address ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ತಗೋಬೋದಾ?
See, whatever your client discusses. I told you, right? So there will be a,
Actually,
so they'll give you everything. The client will be deciding and they will tell you, and we have to configure that. That's it.
okay, okay.
Any other doubts? No doubts? All good?
Sir, I will share one photo in group, sir. Actually, today I got error in that. So can you please check that?
Yeah, please share.
Location is not allowed like that. Error came. Your request in just type to T2 macro is not supported. Your
Yeah, I
request
told
available.
you, no. So you should not use one AP South 1C. So it is not, you have to use either AP South 1A or 1B. 1C is not available for free tier.
Okay,
Change the
okay.
availability zone.
Yes. Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay, so this is, it is clearly saying, right? So it is not used for the T2 micro. You have to use another subnet. AP South 1B is there, no? Just change it, you will get it. Okay,
Okay, sir.
any
Okay.
other
Thank
doubt?
you.
Okay, so let me share you some VPC exercises for you to do. And okay, so you will get this one. So follow this also. They have given step by step. Please follow this. Okay, and one more. Wait a minute, I'll give one more song. So here also AWS will have its own tutorials. Okay, you can follow along. So these are free of cost. You can deploy anything. One second here. So you can use this also, like you can deploy a web server. Okay, anyhow, we'll be covering in AWS EC2 section. Okay, so what else I have to give you? Wait a minute. Okay, so you can use this also. These are some advanced topics. Okay, yeah, practice this, and tomorrow we will start with the new module, that is IAM. Okay, identity and access management, right? So which is very, very important for user management and group management and roles management. So that is the main component which is responsible for your authentication inside the AWS account. Okay, and from tomorrow, make sure everyone are joining with the laptop. Okay, so you can also practice along with me, right? Okay, any other doubt, guys, before I wind up? Okay, so then I'm going to stop the recording. Bye, guys. Take care. Good night.